Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we have your Royal Rumble review. WWE pulling out a couple surprises. Shane McMahon gets fired. CM Punk versus MJF, and Brian Kendrick finally says what I've been thinking. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast.
This is just going to be a train wreck. I already see this coming.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. John No Selway. And out there in South St. Louis. Out there in South St. Louis, we have Jason Cornelius. What's going on, JCB?
Oh, that was good, man. That was good. No Selway. That's good. Bo, yeah, he's eating up, Bo. Good shit. Allow us to bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 242, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, #boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. The holy trinity of BFR. The Red Bulls kicking in. I'm ready to talk some wrestling. Let's do this damn thing.
And out there in Portland, Oregon, we have Two Beer Zach Coleman. What's going on, Two Beer Zach?
Just out here chilling, man. Things are pretty good. Just vibing, trying to get mad about stuff. I mean, I know a lot of folks got mad about Brock winning the Rumble, but that's just the nature of the beast, dog.
Nature of the beast incarnate? Sorry, that's stupid.
Shit, no, that was good, man. Give that shit some credit. I can't say I was
am
bad.
coming at you.
Go ahead.
I am coming at you from snowy St. Charles, Missouri. Jason's out there in snowy South City, and it is so snowy that we couldn't get together this week. The roads are bad. There are highways that are closed down. There's lots of jackknife trucks and shit like that. So we're going to try this on Zoom. So if there are any, let's say, audio difficulties, we apologize in advance. We should be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week. Guys, I was at the Rumble.
How was it?
And, it's a fun format to be there live. Shout out to a friend of the show, David Patterson, who got me the ticket, and we went together, and we were sitting next to four guys of like minds with us, and we all had money on it with each other and everything. And we just had a great time. Now, I wasn't too upset about the Ronda thing until the Brock thing happened, but I mean, we got plenty of time to get into that. Did you guys? Well, you know what? Let's just get right into it. Let's start with that. 3 counts. All right, Jason, kick us off.
Well, obviously, we are going to talk about the Royal Rumble on Saturday night. Straight from the central locale of BFR itself, St. Louis, Missouri. The America Center packed in 44,000. I don't even know where to start with this. Let's start with the good. Let's start with the good. The good to me, in no particular order, is the first match, the kickoff match, curtain jerk, or whatever you want to call it, Seth versus Roman. I thought this was a really well done match. I thought the psychology was good. It actually finally showed a little crack in the Roman Reigns armor, which over 500 days you would like to think it would happen at some point. I know people are kind of shitting on the finish. I wasn't a huge fan of the DQ finish because we see it a lot in WWE, but I did like the chair shot, the callback where they zoomed it, where literally, if you were watching it, it took you back to the Shield when Seth Rollins cracked Roman and Dean Ambrose in the back with the chair. Same kind of setup, same look, except for it was two different people. The king of the table, the head of the table, cracking Seth Rollins in the back. I thought that was a really good callback. From there, the women's Rumble, Ronda comes back. I guess that's really it. Piper versus Becky. Piper gets her Royal Rumble match. Lashley Lesnar, I thought was the interesting of the bunch. Bobby Lashley got his match with Brock Lesnar, but depending on how you look at it, Roman Reigns interferes. I thought they kind of tipped the hand with Heyman a little early, but neither here nor there. It was a nice little swerve. I can't lie. I did kind of pop a little bit. And then the men's rumble, I don't have anything for that. So, I mean, for me personally, the Royal Rumble was more about the curtain jerker than anything else. The ramifications there from that point were what they were. We can talk about that. For me, that was the good. I'll wait for the bad.
Two Beer Zach, what do you think?
I built my whole day around this. I turned on the pre-show and watched that whole fucking thing. There wasn't, I don't know, man. It was like I didn't have shit going on.
It's a Saturday. You got shit to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Tara was trying to get me to go do some stuff I didn't want to do, and I'm like, oh, it's the Rumble,
yeah,
blah blah blah. So I did that, and watch that whole pre-show, no match, and then they open with Roman and Seth, and I'm like, dope. This is awesome, and it kind of got me thinking that maybe I was going to be right. You guys thought my prediction was crazy. But, Seth's entrance was awesome. His Shield gear, the Shield music, which was Roman's music for a long time before the Tribal Chief gimmick. Everything was perfect. He did the roll over the barricade, and then they just went on to have what could have been a totally classic match. And I was loving it. Super into it. And then I almost shut the fucking thing off. I was just so mad, not because Seth didn't win and I was wrong. That's not it at all. It's because like you said, we got a DQ finish and it was the same shit that we always see. And it's you don't want to beat either guy, then don't book the match. You already made Seth, Roman just like went over very strong. Like, just have him go over clean. Like, why do the DQ finish? Like, I'm interested to see what Bill has to say, because I mean, they got a lot of boos. And then of course the idea was for Roman to go ham on him with the chair so that the boos turn into boos for Roman. But those initial boos were not for Roman. Mm-mm. They were for the company. And I was just so mad. It's just like, there was this awesome match and I was super into it. And you know how hard it is, like, to get invested in WWE, and these guys did it. They're very good at what they do, like total pros. I was super into this match.
Respect on Seth Rollins' name.
Yeah, it's funny. I'd say Seth Rollins is underrated. Like, and there's a lot of people that only watch WWE that would be confused by that.
As crazy as that statement kind of sounds, I can see why you say that, even in WWE.
Yeah. I think people just take him for granted because he's just good all the time. Mm-hmm. But this gimmick is actually over with me. I hated the not Monday Night Rollins. I hated the Monday Night Messiah. And, I like this gimmick. The jackets are silly, and it was cool because he was actually positioned as like a baby face. Usually Roman is the heel that gets cheered, and people were behind Seth. So I don't know, it's just, I think Trevor Dame, if you don't follow him on Twitter, he's a really good follow. He's got a picture of dude from Kids in the Hall on his avatar, but he said WWE always manages to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. And I mean, I think that's the most pissy and successful way to say that. Just pissed me off and set the tone for the rest of the show. I was not as into the rest of the show.
Yeah. I mean, the place, Zach's exactly right. I mean, the heat was on the company for that finish. The heat was not on Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns for that finish. The place, you're always going to get a good pop. People are excited for the curtain jerker. When Rollins came out to the old Shield music, that place erupted. Like, people were fucking ready for it, man. They were all about it. They wanted him to be the babyface. They wanted him to beat Reigns. He was, I wouldn't say he fought completely from underneath. as a babyface, but he definitely didn't fight as a heel. It was Reigns as a heel, and that match came off really well live. People were into it. I was into it. I wasn't too terribly pissed off about the finish, but the reason I wasn't too terribly pissed off about the finish is the same reason. It says more about the format of the Royal Rumble than anything else. I mean, I was looking forward to that match, and I was looking forward to Brock versus Bobby, but you're there for the Rumble. The Rumble's the main attraction. So it was like when that finish kind of shit the bed, I was like, all right, we still got 2 Rumbles left. I'm not going to get too mad because the night is full of possibilities. And, before it was over, you remembered that the night is full of only one possibility, and that is all roads lead to Rome. But, I'll be honest, like the hardest I popped all night was when Ivory came out during the Women's Rumble.
I totally thought about you. As soon as she came out, I heard the music. I'm like, this sounds familiar. I'm like, and they put her name up. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was there right now to see Bill's fucking face. I would pay $15,000 to see this shit just to watch it unfold. I know you marked the fuck out.
I don't know how it came across on TV, but the section that I was in was into it, and everybody remembered it. And it was all, it was all marks like us. They were all middle-aged young guys in their young 30s, late 20s. Everybody remembered it. But I thought that it was like she had missed a beat. I was like, God damn, she should be a manager right now.
Dude, she's 60 years old, and I would.
Oh,
she's
sure.
60?
Of course.
She's 60.
Wow.
Especially with that discipline that she's got going on. Yeah. God. Yeah. Well, Sorry.
Get your mind out the gutter, motherfucker. That's just for me. You two are married with kids.
Jason, what did you think about the Women's Rumble?
Since the Rumble is about the numbers, I took the liberty of writing down some numbers. Out of 30 women, you had 14 that were returning. That meant to me returning that they had been gone for an extended period of time. Let's call them divas, or they had been released in some form or fashion. 6 of the 30 women I considered as legit contenders to win the Rumble. Okay, in no particular order, I wrote down Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, Bianca Belair, Shayna because she was number 30, Rhea Ripley, and Sasha Banks. Now, most eliminations in a round, 2 people have 8. I'll give you the first one. It's Bianca Belair. Can you name the second one?
Men's or women's?
Just women's. The men's is way higher. It's like 13 or 14, something ridiculous.
Nia Jax.
2 beer?
So obviously, we're not just talking this year.
I'll give you a hint. She was
not part of it.
She was in this year's Royal Rumble.
Was it Ronda? She threw a bunch of women out.
No. Good guess.
Tell us.
Her running mate, Shayna Baszler. 8 eliminations in a single Royal Rumble. Now, all that being said, let's just cut to the chase. This was more about who wasn't there versus who was there. Okay? Asuka, conspicuous by her absence. I'm not even saying that because I picked her. She needed to be there. If there was a way to get Lacey Evans there, she needed to be there. This was more about, okay, here comes Kelly at 4. God bless Kelly. No business being in that Royal Rumble. That spot with Tamina just made my heart sink. It was bad.
I have a serious question about Kelly. Is she like the new Rachel Dolezal or something? Like, is she black now? What is going on with her?
Dude, okay, that's another story for another time. I didn't even want to go there, but, yeah, she looked a little dark for being Caucasian. Anyway, it's just, it was so frustrating to see a lot of legends come back. Then you got the Sarah Logans of the world. God bless Sarah Logan. You ain't got no chance in hell winning this shit. I don't care what number she came in at, like 28. I'm like, okay, that's lackluster at best. And Shotzi at 29. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm sorry, Ronda came at 28. Sarah Logan's 25. Shotzi at 29. The Royal Rumble is meant for people like Shotzi, not for people like Ronda Rousey. God bless Ronda Rousey, but she can come back at any given point and be in the title mix. People like Shotzi need to win the Royal Rumble. Otherwise, they don't have no shot. I know some people don't want to hear this, but Liv Morgan's in that same little category too. I know she lasted a long time. Yay, Liv. She needs the Royal Rumble. She can't do it on her own. The biggest problem with me with the Women's Royal Rumble is, once again, they use Bianca Belair to carry this motherfucker. They got her to the Final Four, and then once we got Ronda Rousey in, now we can get Bianca Belair out. It's now getting to the point where I'm not even worried about Bianca Belair. I'm scared for her moving forward, because now, after her WrestleMania performance, it's almost been a year later, and she's progressively moved back since SummerSlam.
Zach, what do you think about Ronda winning?
Totally expected. I mean, I picked her, but I do think that at least with Ronda, kayfabe style, it makes sense. She's been gone for 2 years. She's a huge star, and yes, she can walk into a main event, but it does give some storyline credibility that she earned her spot. I have more things to say about her performance, though. She did not look as good as she did 2 years ago at all. And I don't mean like physically or anything, like not knocking a returning mother. I mean, she just had a baby not that long ago. I just mean like she looked a lot greener than she did. I don't know if it was nerves or just, ring rust.
The punches never looked like they ever connected. She threw like six or seven in a row, and maybe one looked like it might have actually connected. That doesn't do it for me.
She's always had a fan for it, so.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, Bill. I'm just saying, for the moment when she came in, don't get me wrong, I was like, okay, this is cool. It's Ronda's back. She's going to come back and kick a little ass. I'm cool with this. But then, like Zach said, once she started to perform, it was like, oh, you haven't been in the ring in a while. Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say, to Jason's point about, creating new stars with the Rumble, there is that narrative, and I think that is the actual best use of the Rumble, but it is not the typical use of the Rumble. Okay. If you look at previous winners, we have a few examples of that, but traditionally they are established stars that win it. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's what actually happened.
Okay, then let me ask you this quick question. If
Zach really just stole my thunder, that was gonna be my big pushback, but
okay, then who did they get over besides Ronda Rousey in this Royal Rumble?
Oh, they didn't do a good job of getting people over at all. Okay. So, in either one of them.
Okay.
That's
basically, that's my next biggest problem is, now that you released all these people, you left yourself open to having 14 returning stars come back. That's basically half the field is eliminated. God bless Mickie James. She looked at the best of the bunch, but that's half the field eliminated. Why are we doing the Rumble then? Why are we doing 30? Do 20. Okay? We all know that you have, in some form or fashion, eliminated a good chunk of this roster. Some worthy, some not so worthy. Put them in the category of your choice. But now you've gotten to the point where you're trying to be too goddamn cute like the Kansas City Chiefs and trying to make a 30-woman Royal Rumble. I said that a couple weeks ago. You guys laughed at me. And now look at it. This was a big pile of horse shit. And if you say otherwise, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm still laughing at you, dude.
You can laugh at me all you want to. Facts are facts. You can't sit up here and tell me you were invested into this Royal Rumble.
I mean, I was there, and I was on an edible, and I was drunk, and I was having a good time. I was invested in it as it was happening. I was probably the loudest motherfucker as everybody exited the dome, talking about how stupid the ending was. And by the end of it, I looked like CM Punk with a straight edge society. I had a bunch of people follow me, shaving their heads, being like, God damn, this guy's right.
So I meant to ask you, and I haven't talked to you since. My buddy Joe was there, and he texted me as soon as Brock won, and he said, like, as soon as Brock's music hit, people started just streaming out of the building.
I did not notice that.
Maybe he said his section, so he did. It was a little bit of a qualification, but he said like
there were so many people there. I mean, I was
that number reminded me of when I went to WrestleMania. That was a huge fucking WrestleMania. That was obviously in Arizona or whatever. Then that's why I kept telling everybody it sounds like fun until you get there, and it's just a mass of fucking people.
Well, it was fine for me because I knew my way around town, and I got to park I knew where to park and shit like that, you know. But even the night before, as I was bartending, everybody I talked to the night before was in from New York or Miami or Colorado, and like there were tons of people that came in for the show. And you know, it's kind of a shame, but I mean, completely predictable that you know, they really didn't deliver. Like Zach Buddy said, they can start like that tweet that Zach mentioned said, they can really snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
So did you have a problem with Ronda winning?
The only guy who
you
do I have a problem with Ronda winning?
Yes.
No, I mean not particularly. I didn't have a problem with Ronda winning until Brock won, and I was like, okay, so you're going to give me two of the most boring mainstream Vince picks possibly. Like, we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have put Bianca over again. Like, Bianca was put over when she won at the Rumble, and then when she won at WrestleMania. If she wins 2 Rumbles in a row, I mean, she's made forever. Now she looks like kind of, you know, she's kind of running the middle. Away. She's on the second. She's on the and same thing with Big E. I mean, the way that Big E was treated in the men's Rumble was. I mean, it was. I was almost offended by it. I was offended for him.
I am offended by it. As a black man, I will be unapologetically offended by that shit. Once again, they have taken a good golden opportunity, dare I say, a man that went out of his way to be in other places, to be the WWE champion in non-WWE events like boxing and MMA. He would announce like Deontay Wilder, and then this is how you do him? Come on, man. That is the big, him and Kofi. Kofi, you know, obviously the botch is the botch. But damn, man, you going to give me Kofi Mania and squash it in 9 seconds, and then he loses to Madcap Moss? Come on, dog. I'm sick of it. As a black man, that offends me personally, period.
Well, is there anything else that we want to say about the Women's Rumble? We can just move right on to the men.
Yeah, that's good with me.
I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that they could have gone that would have been preferable to Ronda Rousey, but I mean, Ronda coming back is no doubt a big deal. I thought it was funny on Raw how they piped in all the audience to make it seem like she's the biggest deal in the world, and then they cut to the audience and nobody did anything.
Yeah, that was bad news bears. They should have just kept it tight on her.
That promo was brutal too. I mean, brutal.
She acted like she didn't want to be there, which is silly because you know that she does, because A, she's getting a huge paycheck, and B, it's obviously like a passion for her. But what's interesting is, like, remember, like, she got booed. Like, remember whenever Charlotte beat the shit out of her with those kendo sticks and everybody cheered in her hometown, and she, like, took it personally? I don't think she's forgotten that. Nope. And when she walked out in the Rumble and she's just like mean mugging everybody, not like in a tough way, like, I don't know, like, she's coming back as a heel and like, fine if she's an ass kicker, but then they give her a microphone and have her talk, and it's like, you already know this isn't her strength. Like, just give her a Paul Heyman or something, or just give her somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you really give her ivory. Shit. I mean,
you know really that's not what they do, guys. You know that's not what they do. There's only one person.
But, I mean, sticking with Ronda for a second, Zach makes a good point when he says that the faces that she makes, because when she comes out to Bad Reputation and she's making that face, like she just looks like a pissed off, like 15-year-old. Like she dresses like a pissed off 15-year-old. She like the face she makes is like she's just mad at her parents and she's walking into first period algebra or something. It's like she doesn't look like an ass kicker. She looks just like a baby. I mean, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's not coming off well, and she's a main event star, and she's going to have to perform at a main event level, and she has in the past. But I am not as enthusiastic as I was last week. I will say that because remember, I tweeted it. I said it on the podcast, like Ronda coming back is something that could get me to watch weekly television because I was a fan of her work last time. I thought she did a good job. I thought it was intriguing, and she showed a lot of growth. And she's a legit star. She has star power. But this is not the way. And it's interesting that they're going the Charlotte direction because that is also not what we want to see at all.
Ding 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 ding.
You know why isn't Lita treated with the same amount of respect and the same amount of grandeur when she comes back as somebody like fucking Goldberg? I mean, Lita has more of a WWE pedigree than Goldberg. Lita did more for the current state of professional wrestling than Goldberg ever did. And they just, I mean, I was never the biggest Lita fan, but I mean, they kind of, they just treat her like fucking Summer Rae or something. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I disagree with that. She came in at what, 26. She was pretty much there to the end. I'm pretty sure that Charlotte eliminated her. Don't quote me on that. But she came out on Raw Monday night and she got the match with Becky for Saudi. So I mean, there's something to be said about that. I don't think she doesn't. Goldberg is a different animal.
That should be a WrestleMania match.
No, it really shouldn't. No, Becky and Ronda should be your WrestleMania match. Okay, it needs to go back to the scene of the crime.
Okay, leaders should have a WrestleMania main event. Okay. All right, let's move on to the men's. A lot to talk about. Let's start at the top. Brock Lesnar winning. I know that this seemed obvious once he came out 30th. I was in denial the entire time. Jason, what were your thoughts?
I'm still getting over Shane coming in at 28. I'm just like, okay, dude, what the fuck is really going on? So Shane comes in at 28. Orton is like, okay, so we hadn't seen Orton at this point. So I'm like, okay, so Orton has to either be 29 or 30. And I'm like, please, God, be 30. Please, God, be 30. Orton comes out at 29, and I'm like, oh, God, it's going to be Brock, isn't it? And Brock's music hits, and I'm just like, God damn it, this shit's over. That was my knee-jerk reaction. This shit is over. There is no way in the world they're going to have Brock Lesnar come out and not have him win this shit. Who's going to throw him out? Bad Bunny? Riddle? Not so much. I mean, by that point, it was a wrap, and that's when I got the most mad that I've been all night long. I'd been frustrated at points. This is literally Money in the Bank all over again. Lack of imagination, lack of originality. You have Roman and Brock in your hand. You set it up with Lashley versus Lesnar. Brock got speared by Roman. Then Heyman turned on him. Roman hits him with the belt. What else do you want? That is your WrestleMania match. Right there. Right there. You don't have to even have Brock come in this motherfucker. Bring Ali in. I don't give a rat's ass who you bring in at this point at 30. It cannot be Brock Lesnar. It is too fucking the same formula over and over again. I don't blame motherfuckers for leaving at that point. If I was there, I might leave. I was at my own apartment. I wanted to leave. It was no reason in the world for Brock Lesnar to come out at the Royal Rumble and win it.
Yeah, you literally already shot the angle in the same show.
Right.
It wasn't like the angle had been like building or whatever. You already shot the angle. It happened. You already built for the match.
So now, so Brock's going to be in 2 title scenes? Come on, man. Pick one. Pick one. I don't care which one you pick. But he can't be in both title pictures. That is an indictment on the fucking booking and the releases that you made. You can't make stars either. Pick one of the fucking 3 that I just named out of, and you can place it in that fill in the blank. There was no reason in the world for him to come out.
I will say that I had high hopes initially because we started with AJ and Nakamura, which I thought was very cool, even though they have already fucked this up one time.
Thank you. You can't be kicking people in the balls and expect me to forget that shit. You out your mind.
Nah, it was a cool opening though. It's a cool 2 guys.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I was singing the Nakamura song too when he came out. I would be lying if I said otherwise. And then they got in the ring, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the last time you 2 jokers got in the WWE ring. Womp 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 womp.
Well, then you had Bobby Roode come out, and we had, of all things, a TNA chant in the Royal Rumble. So that backfired. But
can I say something real quick about?
I was into it.
What happened to their music? I mean, has like entrance music gotten worse in the last 6 weeks? I mean, like I couldn't identify a lot of these guys' music when they hit. I had to literally be like, who the fuck is this? Oh, Robert Roode. When Dolph Ziggler came out, I was like, okay, I heard this before. But a lot of these guys' music I didn't even heard of.
They got rid of that CFO $sign long time ago, and I don't think they want to pay him any licensing fees. So
shit, they need to.
Yeah, but there was a little bit of fun in this Rumble, but it was overall pretty boring. I did really enjoy Chad Gable came out and, his whole thing, Alpha Academy, his character. Like, for me, him, like, having actual real deal good character work just even more makes everyone realize just how underutilized this guy is. That was one of the highlights. Sami Zayn coming out and just not interacting with anybody because he's just a smart heel. Is just like, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm coming out and I did enjoy the celebrity aspect. Like Bad Bunny murdered it again. I'm stoked. Like let him do a WrestleMania gig again. He's super fun. I have no idea. I've never listened to his music. He's got a ton of audience. Like it's a good business move for them because he's good at what he does. And Johnny Knoxville, it was silly, but man, he threw a fucking Suzuki forearm right on AJ Styles. And basically, like, I felt like in there, knowing what Johnny Knoxville does to make money, they all like him. And, he just took bumps, and that was cool.
Yeah. But as far as celebrity involvement goes, Bad Bunny and Johnny Knoxville are the 2 best case scenarios. You got a guy that likes to play along and doesn't mind taking bumps, and another guy who actually looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, other than that, it was like Drew came out, and I was like, okay. I'm like, I was not expecting him, and when he came out, I was like, he might take it, and that would be cool because the last time Drew won, it worked out really good for him, and he took us and had a fantastic year and really worked us through the pandemic. And really helped the show. But yeah, as soon as Brock beat the kid, it was just, that was the writing on the wall.
I thought that, Gable had a good showing. Like, I think Gable's really kind of clicking right now. I thought Austin Theory got himself over. I thought Austin Theory looked really fucking good. But there's not much more you can say about Orton winning, Lesnar winning than what we've always already said. I mean, it's just, there's no reason for it, and it's the laziest, really kind of most chicken shit finish that you can have. Nobody wanted it. Nobody in the crowd wanted it. I can't think of anybody that wants it except for probably sponsors that don't know anything about wrestling, Fox.
Yeah. That's why Ronda won, because of Fox. But, dude, and also, like, short on time, because, I mean, somehow, like, I don't know. Like, you literally do this for a living, and you've done it, like, thousands of times. You had thousands of pay-per-views, and they were somehow short on time. But, like, that finish was rush. It was just like, oh, we get Brock and
that was it.
Drew, facing off. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. And Drew's like, yeah, more people here than last time.
Yeah.
Like, trash talking him.
I'm like, okay.
And I was like, cool. And then he just, like, put him on his shoulders and threw him out. I'm like,
F5, and you're out of here. I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here. I'm done.
When Riddle and Orton were both in at the end, I was like, ooh, Riddle and Orton being the last two would be really fun too, And Riddle jumping off of Otis's back and RKOing McIntyre was fucking awesome.
That was cool. And what is with, though, like, I had not seen, what's his name, Bugahagen. Why do they have to cut everybody's hair now? Like, Vince is now making everyone cut their hair. He did it with Chad Gable, Otis. Otis is charismatic. Like, Gable's doing great stuff. Otis is not as good as he was whenever he was half of Heavy Machinery. That was, like, peak Otis. And Bugenhagen is like a legitimate rock star, and then he comes out looking like a 1920s carnival worker. Like, what is that gimmick? Like, how is that better?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a great question.
Oh, shit. That's great.
He's like making everybody cut their hair now. Like, how are you, like, such a sociopath? Like, you like live in your own world where you get to, like, just play dress up with real people, but you do the same thing over and over. It's like you have, like, your dolls, and, like, you strip them all naked and just do all kinds of weird shit with them. But, like, he does it with, like, real people, like, and he does the same thing with all of them. I don't get it. It's weird.
That's such a funny way to put it, because he did put his wife in a wheelchair and make out with a super hot 25-year-old in front of her for he made his wife catatonic as an angle,
and bought his daughter bigger tits.
Oh my god,
that was a shoot. I would like to address the Lesnar Lashley match. I mean, we already kind of addressed it with the Rumble match, but Lashley looked really competitive throughout the match, pretty much, except for the visual pin that he took. But I did not hate that match live. I thought it was fucking awesome. The spot where we were in, we were all counting the suplexes. I was screaming at strangers. Typical Bill at a live show stuff. What you guys think of that? What you guys think of that match,
dude? I will say, I told you I watched the pre-show, and they played it on the regular show too. But, like, the video package was awesome. Like, whoever put that together, really hyped for that match, and I was already hyped because of their. It just makes sense. It's like, why has this not been done before? They both have MMA backgrounds. And they played into that with the video package. Like, they're both absolute monsters. Like, this is like Clash of the Titans shit. And it was cool. And I mean, I was into the match, and I didn't watch any of the build, beforehand. But, like, that's the beauty of having talented people doing your video production. Like, they told a story that I wanted to see, and they did it concisely in 3 minutes. And I didn't have to spend, like, 18 hours over the course of 6 weeks, like, hating myself just to get intrigued into a match.
Jason, what you think of it?
For as long as we waited for this is about as good as I thought we were going to get. Take away the Roman aspect of it. like you guys said, it was a clash of titans. It didn't feel like one man had a real big advantage over the other until the rough bumps and then the subsequent Roman run in or whatever the case may be. Obviously, I wish there would have been a clean winner, but I get the why. It just sets up the ultimate, I won't say betrayal, but just, chicken shit booking. I'll take Bill's words, and it set that up, and that was my biggest fear, one of my biggest fears for the night. So the match itself, I thought was good. Like Tubier said, the package beforehand, I thought really did a great job of just making me want to see, these two guys finally get in the ring and actually have a match. But, booking is always something totally different.
The less that's said about Becky and Doudrop, the better. I didn't watch it.
Oh shit, that's great.
Did you legit like popcorn match that shit?
Oh yeah, I was burning heaters with some dude from Nebraska outside. We became buddies. Yeah,
you had a better time than anybody.
Yeah, oh yeah, we were laughing, telling jokes and everything. It was great.
It was just in a bad spot.
And then I
think all you can say is, "Dude, drop this angle."
Yeah, please. I mean, it's time. I like Piper, but damn.
And the mixed tag match was another popcorn match. I mean, it wasn't.
It was what it was. It was like totally fine. I wasn't mad at it, but that's exactly what I expected. Like, I mean, yeah, it just was. That's just the thing that it was. So,
all right. So compared to most WWE pay-per-views, I would give this one a B minus. Compared to Royal Rumbles, I would give this a D minus.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that. I will concur, man. Yeah.
I mean, because Rumble's just such a fun format. Like, it's still so much fun. Like, I would still watch another one tomorrow night. Jason, great.
It can't be an F. Yeah, I'll go D minus.
It can be whatever you want it to be.
No, it's not an F because Seth and Roman prevents it from being an F. Lashley and Lesnar prevents it from being an F. I'll just go D. It was not very good. The men's was so disappointing. So disappointing.
All right. Let's get to that. 2 counts. 2 beer with the 2 count.
Do a little something different. I'll pick the non-AEW 2 count just to switch some shit up.
I'll spit out that Red Bull.
This could be. I already marked this. I have a notes folder on my phone now where I'm keeping track of the beefers for next year, and I already have this penciled in as
worst pay-per-view of the year.
Scandal of the year.
Oh
man! I love this story so much. What is it, Zach?
Shane McMahon is fired from WWE, which, I mean...
Niggas ain't shit. We over here laughing. We ain't shit. No, man, look, for somebody that's been fired multiple times, that is one of the worst fucking feelings in the world, okay? It's like, can we see you in the office? Like, hell no, you can't see me in the office. What you mean? You can talk to me right here.
I'm not going to feel bad for Shane McMahon for getting fired. I refuse to.
Fired one time, and it wasn't when I was a multimillionaire, so I really can't empathize. But I can just imagine like Vince backstage, just like super pissed at all these changes. Because like so.
Okay, let's break it down. Let's break it down.
He's helping book the Royal Rumble, which he's done in the past, apparently. For years past, and he is suggesting all these changes during the middle of the match, which just imagine being like Bad Bunny and Johnny Knoxville back there just being like, this shit is like planned out already. It's like your biggest show of the year, your second biggest show of the year.
Fuck it. I'm going in. Hold this.
And like Shane is just completely purple and just like doing rails and gorilla. And, but not really, like that's not the report, but I'm just thinking, but I can just imagine like him going to Vince and Vince just be like, no. And then like Brock's over there just on like, well, Vince, like, you know, we talked about like blah, blah, blah. And then like, you know, Vince just like fully gets physical with Shane and slaps him, and Stephanie's in the corner and she's like, slap me too, Daddy. I'm a McMahon. And, but I don't know how that happened. Like nobody that was there or not there doesn't know, but basically Shane McMahon, came in to start his, you know, road to WrestleMania, because that's what they do every year, you know, and he was so abhorrent at what he was doing that he not only missed out on his WrestleMania payday, but was told to leave the company. So, I mean, this is bonkers. He's a McMahon. I mean, he's like, and he's not the heir apparent. You know, he hasn't been for, you know, 20-something years. It's obvious that he's not the heir apparent, but I mean, he usually is around for WrestleMania for a payday, and he is a McMahon, and shit had to be bonkers for them to just let him go, because he doesn't have a contract. Like, I'm not saying he's going to show up on AEW or anything, but dude, like,
dude, if he did, I'm dead.
It's a wild story.
Jason, what do you think?
Well, depending on where you see these reports or who you read or who you follow, whatever the case may be, the one plan was to have a Shane and Seth Rollins spinoff for the WWE Championship. Another story was Shane versus Austin Theory, and that would be a WrestleMania match. So right there, it kind of already seems like this is, you know, WWE in action, you know, a bunch of different ideas and really no one direction. From what I have understood, it sounds like Shane kind of went into business for himself backstage, made a lot of changes. In said changes, this is where he comes out at 28. Yes, 28. And I'm not sure what it was supposed to happen because, like I said, it's a lot of, you know, different circulations throwing out different rumors. Ultimately, it just sounds like to me backstage was a hot mess, and he was the producer behind said hot mess. Now, how that equated into the ring, I'm not sure. To me, it just looked like the same old usual Shane that I see. Whatever he did backstage had to be bad, and it just sounds like in some form or fashion he went into business for himself and tried to get things changed, like Tubier said, on the fly, and it didn't work out. And then all of a sudden, while he's in the Royal Rumble, I have no idea. You don't need Shane to be in the Royal Rumble, but that's another story for another time. He comes in, and like I said, I don't know. It was all weird.
Can you imagine being Cedric Alexander or Shelton Benjamin or somebody like that?
Cesaro.
Backstage, Shane comes in. Cesaro.
Finn Balor.
Let me read some quotes, and I'm gonna try to pick out the best ones. These are quotes from Wade Keller, editor at large from PWTorch.com. We've mentioned him on the podcast before. He is one of the foremost journalistic voices in the world of professional wrestling. Quote, "This was an unexpected sharp increase in disruptiveness of bad ideas on Saturday. From what I'm told directly from people there, he was really self-centered." And then it goes on. I mean, it goes on and on and on. This is on WrestlingNews.co. Shane was pushing back against producers who were simply trying to follow through on what Vince McMahon told them should be done in the match, and Shane went way overboard. If you look at the people that Shane was fighting in the ring during the Rumble, that was his doing. That's who he wanted to be in the ring with, looking good against. I mean, two of the legit kind of badass guys in WWE. Otis with his background and Riddle with his background, and Shane punched away at them. Then KO super kicked him twice and tried to toss him out, but Shane reversed him and tossed him out over the top rope to eliminate him. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the best part. I think you guys are going to really like this. And as guys who, you know, may not have dabbled in drugs yourself, like you certainly know maybe some of the the warning signs that somebody might be on drugs.
Shit.
Quote, while all this is going on, Shane is sweating profusely, and this has been a thing for him recently, more than recently, where there's a concerning level of perspiration. It's almost like just like droplets are shooting out his head and face.
Concerning level of perspiration.
Man, that nigga having a heart attack in the ring. That's all fucked up.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I just rewatched the Men's Rumble as we were sitting here talking, I was watching Shane run down to the ring, and that dude's jaw was moving overtime. I know what it looks like. That dude's jaw was moving overtime.
Oh man!
Don't say that shit, dog. That's fucked up.
I mean,
it's like an unlimited supply of money. Like,
dude,
yeah.
Trust, I get what you're saying. I mean, that's why I always say, you never want me to get too much money. I might not be able to survive that nonsense. I don't understand why he needs to get over on KO, Otis, Riddle, Orton. I mean, Bad Bunny, yeah, whatever. I mean, he's definitely not getting over Lesnar. But I totally remember. Go ahead.
When Lesnar tried to eliminate him, he gave him a clothesline, and Shane didn't go over on the first.
Right. I totally remember the KO elimination. I was just like, what?
It was just a botch. I thought it was a botch.
I agree, too. I thought it was a botch, too. And I'm like, oh, man, he's really getting ready to get this second clothesline like nobody's business. He eliminates KO, which I thought was a surprise. Now, the more and more I'm starting to think about it and kind of replaying it in my mind, is the more and more I'm kind of like, I could see why people have at least said that he went into business for himself. He put himself in a spot where it's, we're counting down. It's 28. It's getting down to the nitty gritty. You really want to. You got everybody's attention at this point. So I mean,
dude, I tell you what, if I'm going into business for myself, it ain't going to be against Brock Lesnar, Otis, Matt Riddle, and Kevin Owens. Like, you got to be high to think about that.
Shit, I'm getting ready to say, I'm looking at this list. I'm like, I'm shooting for the middle. Damian Priest, Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville, Angelo Dawkins, fucking Omos. Okay, you got to get around him, but then it's Ricochet, Chad Gable, fucking Dominic Mysterio. I mean, come on, that's the spot you want to be in. If anything, fuck all that.
All right,
so I do have to say overall, real quick about. We're just on the Shane McMahon. That's funny. I will say, like, by that time, it was just kind of obvious, like, what was going on, because like AJ was already out, and I don't know, man. Like, I was not surprised whenever the Here Comes the Money came on. That's just WrestleMania season. So people were surprised to see Shane.
I was a little surprised. I would be lying.
I actually don't remember. We don't have to belabor the point. We don't have to belabor the point. I just think like,
I'm dead.
If this were like Jeff Hardy, I'd be like, oh man, I hope he gets himself together. But it's Shane McMahon and Vince McMahon, and they're billionaires. And I mean, I don't want anybody to die or anything, but it is kind of funny. I find it kind of funny.
Do you think this is about getting Vince's approval? Or you just think it's just Shane just going out and doing Shane things?
I think maybe, I don't know what he's been doing for the last, 8 or 9 months or whatever since the last time we've seen him. But, I mean, maybe he's lost his mind. I mean, when you see those punches that he throws at Riddle and at Otis, like, he looks like somebody who's lost his. He doesn't look like a pro wrestler who's, like, fake fighting. He looks like somebody who's lost his goddamn mind. He really does. I just rewatched it.
I gotta watch it again.
It looks so stupid. It looks so stupid.
Well, he has that Ronda, like, bow, 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 lightning jabs in the corner thing.
He's always had bad punches. That's always kind of endeared him to me. I always used to like Shane. But the thing that's funny about him getting fired over this shit is that he's always kind of purported himself of being one of the boys. of being like one of the boys in the back, of like really putting his time in to like learn the craft of pro wrestling, and all the guys always really liked him, and I don't
just
know.
like, maybe just kind of more normal than anyone else. I will say, now that you mention it, pretty sure I saw there's a homeless dude going at the side of a building with a box knife earlier today, about the same way that Shane McMahon punches, and I think you're totally right.
What the fuck?
That's the kind of shit that I see in Portland every day. So.
Oh my God!
All right. Anyway, just to put a little ribbon on top of this, Shane McMahon is all elite.
Real quick. There was a woman that also saw this happen, and she was like, "You think something's wrong with him?" I'm like, "I think there's a lot wrong with him." She's like, "I think I'm gonna walk away," and I'm like, "Yeah,
probably a good idea. Let's not go up and talk to him."
Yeah.
Do you think Tony Khan could talk Shane into coming to AEW? I mean, that would be incredible.
Dude, if that happens, I'm done.
I think it'd be a money issue. I think it'd be like...
You want to piss him off?
It would not be a money issue. It would be a daddy issue.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
This
definitely
would be the WCW, WWE invasion angle war all over again, but just totally different. Where now you see Shane on AEW, like, what the fuck? This shit ain't real. Man, what about smoking? That would be absolutely incredible. I would pay to see that shit. Just give it to me once. He ain't never got to come back again. Just give it to me one time.
All right. Let's move on to that. 3 counts. Very good AEW Dynamite last night. That was bookended by 2 segments that I absolutely loved, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the Punk MJF booking. Well, let's just start there. Let's start with MJF and Punk. They took up the last, I'd say, 40 minutes of the show, probably.
30 for sure.
I did not see how long the match was, but MJF goes over, ultimately. He went over twice. The first time he went over, the referee found his, was that a tie?
I think so, yeah.
It was like his wrist tape. It was like a Garrett. It was like wrist tape.
I mean, I was watching it, but I expected it to go much longer, so I wasn't paying like that close of attention to that part. And then when the bell rang, I was kind of like, what the fuck? And then at the end, so they restart the match. Punk seems to have him where he wants him. Wardlow comes out, kind of stares down Punk. It looked like we were at the conclusion of the Wardlow MJF, or not, at least the conclusion of Wardlow's turn. Wardlow sneaks MJF the ring. MJF punches Punk and gets the 1, 2, 3. Punk is no longer undefeated in AEW, and Punk put over MJF in what will probably be remembered as a very big stepping stone in MJF's budding career, of which there have been many. Zach, what did you think about this match?
Sorry to take myself off mute. It was great. It was almost perfect. I thought it was psychologically one of the best shows or best matches we've seen on Dynamite. Maybe one of the best matches we've seen in AEW from a psychological standpoint. They gave him a ton of time. It's like 50 minutes of television time. But so MJF, no secret, his favorite wrestler growing up was CM Punk. Makes sense. Like he borrows a lot from him, and these guys just have great chemistry. They wrestled, pretty old school match. Pretty early on, MJF goes after the wrist, then eventually the knee, and CM Punk put on a masterclass of how to sell. So if you ever see these people that are like you know, I don't watch AEW because nobody sells or like whatever. Like this guy sold like Tanahashi. Like towards the end, there's like a point in the middle where he goes for the bulldog on the ring apron and he switches arms because his one arm is hurt. After his knee is hurt, he climbs to the top rope to do his elbow drop, and you can see every injury as he's like climbing to the top rope. There is a point where they just do body slams. like that was the move that he got over, was just 4 body slams in a row. But I mean, it was great, and it was especially cool from a booking standpoint because after they restarted the match, nobody in Chicago thought that CM Punk was losing, and I thought that was brilliant because after they booked the match to have that false finish, everybody's like, "Oh, well, MJF gets like the false finish, but then Punk's going to go over because he's CM Punk and it's in Chicago, and it's CM Punk." He pulls out the Pepsi plunge, as Jim Ross said, for the first time in 17 years, because when he went to WWE, he wasn't allowed to do it because reasons. Obviously, it looks like a top rope pedigree. So, but yeah, everything about this, it just flew by. 50 minutes just flew by, and it also built storyline wise. I thought the handoff of the diamond ring was perfect because we didn't see it on camera, and then Wardlow, coming out, and Wardlow's mannerisms and his facial expressions. And I just thought everything about it was absolutely perfect. And I thought it was just 2 consummate professionals, and it was great because CM Punk put him over so huge. And when MJF pins him, he laid down on him for a long time. And I would love to be
the ring apron.
You say fly on the wall,
right?
It's like something microbial in MJF's armpit or whatever, so that I could hear the conversation that they had. You know that Maxwell Jacob Friedman, Max, not MJF. You know that Max was thanking him profusely because it was just such a moment. Looking at it from all angles, I thought it was very, very cool, and I also called it. Long time ago, I said MJF should be the guy to beat CM Punk. He was the guy to beat CM Punk. And it always makes me happy whenever they make me feel like the smartest guy in the room. So, loved it.
This motherfucker here.
Jason, what you think?
Two Beer pretty much nailed everything on the head. Just from my own personal perspective, I think that they were trying to get the reaction they got on the false finish for the real finish, and it wasn't. I didn't think that. I was waiting for Chicago to erupt, and I even tweeted that. I was like, the only reason I want to see MJF win is to see how Chicago is just going to fucking melt down. The false finish was the kind of the meltdown false finish. Then you had basically a second match. Don't get me wrong. Make it one match, 2 separate matches, whatever. It was both good. To me, I think they were trying to hit that meltdown moment the second time around, and it didn't work for whatever reason. Neither here nor there. I'll be honest, I did not see Wardlow hand MJF the ring, so when the MJF punched Punk, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And then that's when commentary kind of...
Oh, no, you don't see it until after the match.
Okay.
Because the way they shot it, yeah. It was intentional production.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That made me feel better because I was like, I know I wasn't that damn high watching this shit last night. Outside of that, I don't really have too much else to really complain about it. It's not even really complaints. It's just, my personal perspective on it. MJF should have went over, and they ultimately got there. I think the false finish was probably the finish that the reaction they were looking for from the crowd the second time around. They didn't get it. Neither here nor there. Wardlow is going to be an amazing fucking face turn whenever it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen for like a year now, because it's like if the whole point was to work to work the television audience into thinking there was going to be a face turn and then not have it be there and then have MJF win over Punk be more shocking. Mission accomplished. But I don't want to see another 4 or 5 weeks of Wardlow almost turning on MJF. I think they need to be 100% in cahoots now for maybe not a year, but another 6 months or so. Something else.
It did seem like he re-upped. Like, I think you're right. It seemed like, they were teasing a turn, and then Wardlow re-upped on that MJF.
If so, that's spectacular long-term storytelling. I mean, that's a good 5-6 week story that they told to make that win shocking, and that win was shocking.
Yeah, I do think that there is a window because there was a little tease, remember, where MJF told Wardlow to win the ladder match because they do that before Revolution. They do like the brass ring or the poker chip or like whatever.
Right.
And to give it to MJF. So that might be a little more, or maybe that's not when they do it, but maybe there's just a little more turmoil there, right? But yeah, I agree.
Something else that needs to be pointed out about this match, and it might be kind of obvious now after watching AEW for a few years, or maybe just looked past, but this was on free TV. This was a major match between two of their biggest stars, easily two of their biggest stars. And they just gave it away. They were like, okay, I think I said this last week that they do such a good job of telling stories in intervals. It's not, we've become so conditioned to the WWE style that every story lasts 3 or 4 weeks till the next pay-per-view, and then every story lasts 3 or 4 weeks. And they do such a good job of telling stories in intervals. And just as, to my point, that's a good segue into the first segment, which I thought was really interesting, where John Moxley goes over Wheeler, Utah. And is that how you say it? Wheeler, Utah? A guy that I like. Utah.
I was getting ready to say, what's this fucking Point Break for this motherfucker?
Yeah, right. Moxley goes over, Bryan Danielson comes out and cuts what I can only say was a very surprising, interesting promo, because it was heelish. It also made a ton of sense. He said, you're John Moxley, I'm Bryan Danielson. We could be tag champions if we wanted to be. You could be champion. I could be champion. We could teach a bunch of. He name dropped a bunch of guys. Wheeler Yuta being one of them. Dante Martin, I think, was another one.
Daniel Garcia,
Lee Moriarty, and Daniel Garcia. And he's like, we could teach these guys. We could show them what the future. We could take the future of pro wrestling, and they could be under our wing. And he said, just think about it. And to that point, like, while the MJF CM Punk story seems to be ending, now we have the beginning of this, the fact that they even broach the subject means that we're going to get these two fighting at some point, which is exciting. Now, they could be fighting at the beginning, and then maybe they'll come to an agreement, or maybe they'll come to an agreement, and then Moxley will say, fuck this, I see the error of my ways, and they'll fight later. Either way, this is an interesting story. What do you think about it, Jason?
The fact that it's happening now is interesting, because before Moxley left to get himself right, there was times where I thought there was teasing of a heel turn. Let's just go that route. I'm not going to say he was going to flip, but there was a lot of times where I kind of was looking at him like, see, he's getting pissed off about, not getting back into the title scene, the Forbidden Door, all these other things, so on and so forth. So obviously fast forward to last night, I'm watching this segment and I'm like, man, if this would have happened, back then, I could easily see, him teaming up with Bryan Danielson and marching forward and, being the Triple H and Steve Austin of the AEW, just be the two-man power trip, if you will. I like the fact that, we have Bryan Danielson and Moxley going to happen. They're doing it in a way that I didn't see coming. Bryan Danielson wants to work with Jon Moxley. He sees the fact that it's probably best to work with Moxley than work against him, because this is just not going to be an easy way to work against him. If I can get him on my side, we can get these 3 or 4, young guys together. We got a nice little faction. God knows I love me some factions, but I think I'm much more interested on how we get to Danielson v. Moxley than having another faction. But actually, it was a really good segment.
Zach? Yeah, great segment, great promo, totally logical. And he pointed that out. He's like, they may not like me. He's like, but they like what I'm saying. And everybody likes what he's saying. And I think it is brilliant. That's a very compelling story, because Moxley is such a babyface right now after his recovery. And the fact that he really was cheated out of the title. He carried the promotion through the pandemic. And if you told me to rank the best AEW champions, of all time, there's only been 4, he'd be at the top. And if you told me to...
Okay, Mr. AEW, we're going to put you on the spot. Rank the 4 AEW champions.
I would go Moxley's at the top. I would put Jericho at number 2, simply because he got the promotion off the ground. Maybe not best matches, but as far as that was a very hard job. And I think kind of my ranking is both of those are such hard jobs, right? To carry us through the pandemic and to launch a new promotion. Mm-hmm. And then Kenny number 3 and Hangman number 4. So really, it's kind of the order of the ones that actually happened, just flip Mox and Jericho.
I can't say I disagree with that too much. I was going to say, if you wanted to flip Omega and Jericho, I wouldn't necessarily have too much of a problem with it. But Jericho being the first champion, it's a hard job. No problem with that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Just because Omega, he was just doing what he does. He's the best bout machine.
Yeah.
That's what Omega does. That's what you expect, man. Like
with a banged up shoulder and vertigo. Jesus Christ.
I know, right? Just bonkers. But yeah, and if you were to ask me to pick a TNT champion right now, like somebody that you want on AEW television every single week doing open challenges, it is 100% Bryan Danielson. So, he was 100% right. And, the folks that he mentioned in, bringing people under their wing, like the Daniel Garcias and the Wheeler Yutas even, which I think this match was great, because I think it was better than whatever the fuck Brian Kendrick and Jon Moxley were doing. It wouldn't have been as good as what actually happened, because we had a history. We had Mox run over Wheeler Yuta before, and here we have a compelling story where Wheeler Yuta has got a few more matches under his belt. He's got some confidence. He comes out strong. He comes out hot. Moxley is very confident, because he should be, but he's also got a little bit of ring rust. And Wheeler Yuta didn't take him to the limit, but he took the fight to him. And you got some Danhausen and Orange Cassidy fun in there. And I just think it was it was just a more entertaining television product than I think the Brian Kendrick thing would have been. But yeah, I think it is very intriguing. And regardless, it's the same thing with Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. Whether they fight or whether they team, I don't give a shit. Either one sounds awesome to me. So just feed it to me. Just shove that ventilator down my esophagus.
Okay, all right.
Feed it to
me. All right, goddammit. Reel this shit in. Jesus Christ. Goddamn. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. We can talk about some things that the show was bookended by those 2 big moments. I think that we have to bring up just what can only be described as an atrocious segment, which was Brandy with I think that AEW might believe that Brandy getting that heat is might be residual of her being with Cody. That doesn't seem to be the case. I think that they think that she doesn't belong there, and that is go away heat. She does not look comfortable as a heel. She got rattled by the crowd pretty easily, and it looked like Dan Lambert was trying to save her, and then it looked like Dan Lambert just kind of felt sorry for her. What you think about this segment, JCB?
Jeez Louise. I like Dan Lambert. I'll start like that. I know he's polarizing. Either you like him or you don't. To me, he's old school manager material. He says what he feels, and it's designed to get heat. Check mark that box. Brandy, on the other hand, I agree with you, Bill. She got rattled pretty easily. Whether it was the crowd getting on her head, telling her, shut the fuck up, or the one-liners coming from Dan Lambert. Either way, she doesn't look comfortable in this role, or maybe she's just not comfortable in front of people anymore trying to cut a promo, because I'm with you guys. At this point, it's go away heat. I'm not a huge fan of Brandy. I think she's kind of... I like her in the role of the Cody sidekick versus her getting her own segments in this scenario. It started when I saw Lambert and Men of the Year come out. I got that sinking feeling, and as this segment progressed, it just got worse and worse. I like Brandy. Very easy on the eyes. Paige Van Zandt, very easy on the eyes. There is no way in God's green earth I want to see this match over... you got so much other talent. You can name 15 other matches before I want to see this motherfucker. This motherfucker does not need any time on Dynamite. You ship that shit on over to Dark or Dark Elevation if you want to do that shit. Let the motherfuckers deal with it over there. Don't bring that shit over here.
Actually, I think the best place for this match is OnlyFans, but that's just me.
You ain't shit.
I will say, as far as Brandy goes, I think part of the reason that people don't like her is her character is just all over the place. Like, 1 week she's, Cody's wife. 1 week she's chief branding officer. 1 week she's a scrappy professional wrestler trying to prove herself. 1 week she is, trying to play a very stereotypical black woman. It's not
consistent.
It's not a consistent character, and I think she would be a likable person if you look at her her internet content and stuff. Not OnlyFans, although we can wish. But if you look at her shots of Brandy, she seems like a likable person. The reality show, she seems like a likable person, but she doesn't have a consistent character. Her character currently and her role currently, even if it isn't, it does kind of reek of nepotism, and I think people are just kind of turning against that. And I am surprised that they keep putting her on TV because there are better ways to use your time, especially when you have a 50-minute match main event. There's people, you have a very big roster, and this just does not seem like the way.
Yeah, I wish I could disagree with that. She certainly, I don't like seeing somebody get rattled by the crowd. In fact, it not only does it's not just because it makes me feel bad for them. It makes me feel uncomfortable. That is not. I'm not into the cringe thing. I'm into. Frankly, I'm into pro wrestling and Jackass Forever, which comes out this weekend, which I'm going to go see on Saturday. Which I'm very.
I wish I could. Dude, I wish I could be there to go with you. You're the number one person I want to see that movie with. What'd you say, Jason?
Did you get paid for that? Because it felt like that was straight up a plug for Jackass, and they paid us for it. I mean, you did it. Don't get me wrong. You did it so well.
I didn't get paid, but I knew that I wanted to bring it up this show because Zach and I have watched a lot of Jackass together. And
you want to bond over Jackass real quick?
We love it. We love it equally. I just heard this one's the most joyous one, and I expect to laugh a whole bunch. I'm hoping that my nephews are driving because I'm going to get fucked up.
If they ain't, you driving now. Take the keys, fool.
I mean, my point is, I'm not into cringe, and I'm not watching people fall. So, she didn't fall flat on her face, but she was definitely feeling it, and I did feel bad for her, and I did feel uncomfortable, and I also felt kind of bad for Dan Lambert in that moment, because really they shouldn't. It's not just that you shouldn't be on TV, but you shouldn't be putting Dan Lambert in a situation where he's saying things that can be perceived as true to a fan base that doesn't want to cheer for the object of his insult. It's just
he's the heel, and he's saying, he's like, I'm a conservative, sexist pig, and everybody's like, woo! Because they just don't want to cheer Brandy.
Right.
And it's like, he's trying his hardest to get booed, but they all love him in comparison.
Right. I'd rather cheer you versus cheer her, and that's the problem.
Well, the other thing is that she wasn't really being presented as a baby face either. Like, she was being presented as a heel. It was a bad segment. They actually had a built-in way to kind of make her a baby face, unless maybe they would automatically boot her no matter what. But they did for the February, they're like a sponsor for the American Heart Association. Like, she could come out there as chief brandy officer talking about how they're doing charity work for the American Heart Association, and then Dan Lambert could have come in and interrupted, but I still don't know if she would have got cheered.
I was going to say, I don't know, dog.
Don't like her.
That's setting her up for some shit. I was getting ready to say, you thought this was bad. What if she did legitimately come out there and did some sort of, and they booed her ass? I mean, she was legit coming out and trying to say, hey, AEW is going to, do this, charity work, blah, blah, blah. And they started to boo her ass. That would have been so much worse than what we saw last night.
House of Black versus Death Triangle. House of Black goes, or whatever. What are they called? Knights of the House of Black or Kings of the House of Black?
Knights of
the announcer said Kings.
Kings of the Black Throne.
Thank you. I was going to say it sounds like some Game of Thrones shit, and I just couldn't think of it.
Okay, so House of Black versus Death Triangle. Fun while it lasted. It could have lasted a lot longer.
See, fuck that shit.
I've
heard that before.
I'm into Aleister Black and Brody King, and I'm into Death Triangle. I mean, let's see where it goes. The match is only 6 minutes or something like that.
You know what I thought about this match? I was like, you know what? I was like, CM Punk has worse tattoos than them. I want to see what Bill has to say about that.
Does he? Do they cover his entire? I don't know. But I'm not. I didn't want to. I'm not trying to go after the tattoo community. I just think that
But Jericho's still a fat fuck.
Oh, flabby bastard! That flabby fucking prick. Jericho flabby. It makes me laugh. So, Nyla Rose goes over Ruby Soho with Lars Fredrickson of Rancid standing at ringside. This match was fine. I enjoyed it. I think the right person went over. Ruby can certainly take that loss more than Nyla can. What did you think, Jason?
Honestly, I didn't remember who won until I woke up this morning. I remembered the spot where, I was reminded, better choice of words, of the spot of contention, I think, of the match itself, where you had Nyla Rose in the corner and you had Ruby Soho getting ready to do the kick that she did in their first matchup that led to the win. Now, Some people call it a botch. Other people call it, part of, it's a callback, but she missed the callback. To me, when I saw it initially, I thought it was a botch. But then when I saw the video of the scene beforehand, literally across the ring diagonally, I was like, oh, okay, it just makes sense. It was just executed poorly. Okay. I get them, I don't have a problem with, Nyla getting her receipt on Ruby. You're going to get a third match out of this. It didn't feel like this was a match of any importance. It just felt like they rolled it out there to roll it out there. I don't know. It didn't hit for me the way it should have.
No, it didn't seem significant. And unfortunately, with Ruby Soho losing, like that loss should have felt more significant, and it just didn't. The Lars Fredrickson thing, that's cool. I'm down with that. But the match was a kind of a nothing happening match, and it was a nothing happening finish. And I think it was kind of, unfortunately, indicative of what a lot of people perceive the AEW women's division to be, which is kind of nothing happening. And those are two pretty big stars in the women's division, and they did not do much to alter that perception. Not saying they can't do it, but they didn't do it this week. And I think that's unfortunate because I think they both have better in them.
It feels like Nyla Rose should be a bigger deal.
Agreed.
And especially with Vicky as her manager. And I just don't take her seriously, and I know that they like her a lot, and she's somebody that I kind of root for anyway. But she is she doesn't seem like she seems like a small fish in a big pond in that women's division when you look at the women at the top of the card.
Yeah, but she's been AEW champion before. She should feel like a bigger deal. This match should have felt like a bigger deal, and it just didn't.
And finally, Chris Jericho called a meeting.
Flabby bitch.
Flabby concave chested bitch.
Damn, dog. Y'all going hard on Jericho.
He called a meeting of the inner circle next week. What do we think is going to happen there?
Oh, man.
Oh, they're breaking them up because they're breaking them up. Sammy's got to go his own way. Go your own way. And Proud and Powerful got to go their own way. It's happening. And I have been resistant to it. Every time you guys have brought it up, I've said no. Inner Circle rules. It is time.
If I'm Jericho, I'll be like, man, I started this gangster shit, and this is the motherfucking thanks I get. Hell no. On that note,
man, Zach's really putting himself over this podcast. He's like, I was right about this. I was right about
podcast. That's how I do life.
I like this swagger too. Here, shit, it almost sounds like me. I expected Santana and Ortiz to turn on Jericho. That's what I honestly. That's what I want to happen. If you want to keep it in kayfabe style, this is a perfect time for them to flip on Jericho. Everybody's there. Hager's going to come back from, parts unknown. So you have the whole inner circle there, but they're all basically going their different directions. This is the perfect time for Santana Ortiz to be like, you know what, fuck you, Jericho, bye out, take you some of that and bounce. And then everybody, the rest of the inner circle is kind of like, what the fuck, and then slowly but surely get out of the ring in some form of fashion. That's the least the way I would do it.
I gotta be honest, I completely forgot that Jake Hager existed.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. The inner circle has been great, but they haven't been anything in a long, long time. They didn't even get the Pinnacle over.
All right. That is going to do it for our 3 counts. I got to say, NXT this week was kind of a nothing show, and I don't have a whole lot of... I mean, there's not really much to talk about. I don't really have a whole much more time for the pod tonight. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about in terms of NXT or anything else that we might have missed?
I heard Will Ospreay had a really good match in Rev Pro, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Besides Brian Kendrick thinks that Obama is a 6-foot-tall reptile, and that the Jews not only run Hollywood, but they also not only run the banks. I forget what the other thing he said was. By the way, he said he never thought that, but I've never accidentally. Yeah, I don't think that either. And I've never accidentally been videotaped doing a 9-minute monologue on all of it.
I mean, damn, at a certain point, you think, if this was actually a mistake, you think, oh, wait, hang on, you wouldn't go on for 9 minutes. Ronda Rousey, Sandy
there's
Hook
literally
as well,
like
so, I mean,
1,000 hours of us on tape. There's like 1,000 hours of us being recorded. And none of us ever said, as much drunk as we get, and as stupid as the shit we say just to be silly, we ain't never said anything like that.
Okay.
Like, I could not believe, I put on Friends of BFR, like, I almost missed Dynamite because I was just searching for, like, stupid shit that this dude said. Like, this dude said that Jewish people caused an earthquake and then sent medics down to steal eyeballs from corpses.
What?
Like, this is real things that he said.
Oh, well, that happened. I mean, there's
Dude, stop.
You can find plenty of stuff. You can find plenty of stuff about that. The thing that weirds me out is that I thought that everybody already knew that about Brian Kendrick.
I thought I heard that a while ago.
People thought he said goofy stuff like "there's no outer space" and "the sun is cold," but like they didn't think that he meant like the Jews are reptiles. There's a line you crossed at one point.
No, I thought I heard that a while ago. I just, for whatever reason, I didn't remember it. I didn't even know about, Ronda Rousey and her Sandy Hook comments. So, I mean, if we throw in people underneath the bus, back it up for Ronda Rousey because we got to throw her underneath the bus too. It is what it is, man. I mean, it's the dumbass shit to be said. I don't necessarily have a problem with TK pulling him off the show. Will Yuta is much better suited in that spot anyway. It goes back to storyline angles. So I mean, in that scenario, it probably worked out for the best.
Also, who gives a shit what Brian Kendrick has to say? I mean, yeah, pulled him, but also like I don't care that he was on the match anyway. The dude 10 years past his prime, like fuck it, who cares?
I don't always speak for Zach and Jason as part of the podcast, but I think I can speak for all three of us when I say we think that the Jews are evil, but they're definitely mammals.
What the fuck? No, you can't speak for me on that. I was about to say, if I'm gonna say some racist shit, let me say that racist shit. Damn.
We need that as a drop for every podcast.
This ship's sinking.
I'm kidding.
Heating up.
Right? Yeah, stupid.
I'm kidding. We love the Jews. Jason, hit me with a "This is banned from Ringside."
This is banned from Ringside.
All right, we got some birthdays this week. Haku, a.k.a. Meng, is 63. Marty Jannetty is 62. Kerry Von Erich.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. is like just as a range of probability. You might as well just say R.I.P.
No, he's
would have been
actually
62.
No, I know this one.
He's alive. He's the only one.
Kevin's the only one that's alive.
Okay, that was my hesitation. Chris Sabin is 40. Damian Priest, a.k.a. Punishment Martinez, is 40. Connor from The Ascension is 42. It feels like it's his birthday every other week. It feels like I say Connor every other week.
We just been doing this podcast for too long,
right?
That's it. We're wishing Connor a birthday. We're wishing Connor birthday every single week.
Thanks for being born, Connor.
Yeah, right.
Hikuleo is 31. Big Show is 50. I would have thought that he was a little older than that, but I guess that makes sense. Classy Freddie Blassie.
In giant years, he's like way older.
Yeah, that's right. in Giant years, he's as old as Classy Freddie Blassie, who would have been 104 this week.
Oh man, R.I.P. That dude is top notch.
Speaking of top notch dead people, Jim Neidhart would have been 66.
Heart Foundation
Sensational Sherry would have been 64.
Ooh, I bet she'd be smoking hot.
Not like Ivory.
No, not like Ivory, but Sherry had it going on.
Give me that closing music, Jason.
My pleasure, sir.
Rabbit fever, middle of the night.
Hey, everybody. You know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to ours. For Vice.
Check.
For Murray the Birdman Murray. For
Check.
Luca Chris.
Check.
For Patriot Pat.
Check.
Don't forget to check out their podcast, Sideways in Time, anywhere you find podcasts.
Check.
For Two Beers, Zach Coleman.
Yeah, for Westinghouse.
Cornelius Bell.
Konnichiwa.
Everybody
bitches.
remember to support your local restaurants, support
Check.
your local weed dealers.
Check.
Stay warm out there if
Double
you're
check.
cold. Wear your seatbelt.
Check, check.
Black Lives Matter.
Check.
And boo the heel.
Boo!